This is the Sweet Salon Video News Roundup brought to you by yours truly, Vickie Remoe from sweetsalon.com. Here are the top 5 things that are making the news in Sierra Leone and around the world about Sierra Leone. The top thing that we picked up this week is After You Na You, which literally means you're next. Or after you, it's still you. You're number 1 and you're number 2. You will follow yourself. And social media has been buzzing this past week about conversations people have been having that the president's supporters want him to seek a 3rd term. Other people say that the bid for a 3rd term is actually coming from the president's own crew, that the constitution is going to be changed and he'll be given a 7-term run, and then after that he can seek re-election. The president himself has not said that he will seek a 3rd term. In fact, he said that he would not. However, his supporters have come up with this chant, which is After You Na You. And of course, then the people who don't support this have come up with their own chants. After You Na V, and V stands for vacate, vamoose, or vanish. They've also come up with After Bagbo Na You in reference to Laurent Gbagbo in Ivory Coast, who did not leave office when he was due to. And basically people are saying that if what happened to Gbagbo will happen to our president if he seeks a 3rd term. This is, I mean, it's funny, Sierra Leoneans, we deal with everything with humor. It's funny, right? But at the same time, it's a very serious issue. And my personal stance on it is that until we do hear something or we hear that the constitution is changed, I'm going to believe that the current president is very interested in maintaining Sierra Leone's recent positive democratic gains, and he's not interested in seeking a 3rd term. And so all the people out there who are in a position to run the country for the next elections, please hurry up, start working, start campaigning. Don't sit around and say that, oh, they may say after Anes, so that make you not go do what you need to do for me people that know you, for make you able to throw your name into the ballot. So those of you who can lead Sierra Leone, get your stuff ready, because after President Nkrumah, there will be elections and somebody else can come. So after President Nkrumah, now somebody else, not to President Nkrumah. And of course, these responses to the rumors have gotten write-ups on awareness-times.com. A message from the C says that, you know, people should not try to scare us meaning them in the APC government, with Gbagbo scenarios. John Beba Sise in China also writes that the opposition is really to blame for this, the new After You Na You chants, and they should, you know, go remobilize and get their stuff together. But of course, we do know that both the C and John Beba Sise are APC employees, so we kind of expect them to take that stance. Though the SLPP camp itself, the opposition party, has not really said anything or kind of promoted these ideas or these rumors, at least not on everything that I've seen. The second thing making the news this week is that Sierra Leone lost $224 million to tax incentives to agribusinesses and mining companies for 2012. This is 8.3% of the country's GDP. What does that mean? It means that monies that the government of Sierra Leone could have collected from taxes from mining companies and companies who are doing large-scale agricultural development were not collected because the government gives this $224 million in total as incentives to encourage those companies to invest in the country. Now, 10 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, I feel like Sierra Leone perhaps was in more need of these tax breaks, but like the NGO said, the report was released by Christian Aid, the Christian Aid organization, but the report itself was supported and endorsed, and research conducted by a conglomerate of different NGOs that are interested or work in the mining sector. Yeah, they say that if we don't review our tax incentives and how we basically encourage find investors to come to the country, that this number is going to continue to increase. The downside of this is that the expectation is, okay, foreign companies will come, they'll invest, and they'll be able to hire people. But mining and agribusinesses, at least the ones that are just leasing lands for the agribusinesses and the mining companies, they're not doing artisanal mining, so they actually don't need a lot of labor. A lot of it is heavy machinery, so it's not really, their investments don't directly go to benefit people. So the government needs to collect the taxes so then it can, do infrastructural projects or invest in human development like health and education. These tax incentives are more than, according to the report, the government spent on health and education combined for the year 2012. So we're losing money, so you should talk to your government. The other thing is that the report got most of its findings from anonymous government officials who expressed concern at the size of the recent tax breaks granted to these companies, and they urged the government to be more transparent so that we'd actually know what these tax breaks are. We just need to get a little bit more involved and to be a little bit more concerned about these tax breaks. You can find that story on The Guardian. One more time. You can find that story on theguardian.com. The third thing making the news about Sierra Leone is that a Sierra Leonean immigrant in Halifax, which is in Nova Scotia in Canada, is suing a bar in Halifax for discrimination. The incident in question actually happened in 2010, but the case is still ongoing. And this is basically what happened. His name is Gilpin. Yes, Mr. Gilpin, who's now 38, walked into a bar. He sat at the bar and he was asked for ID. We didn't ask him for ID na the bar, been get the guy's ID, so the people that didn't know they serve alcohol. So instead, he ordered water, and they asked him to leave the bar, but he refused. So he basically was just drinking water, and then they called the cops on him. The police came and arrested him, funnily enough, for public drunkenness, even though he was only drinking water, and he spent a night in jail. Later on, the drunkenness charge was dropped, and yeah, so he's suing the bar. What really stood out to me about this story is that his lawyer is claiming that the incident triggered bad memories from Mr. Gilpin's experiences during the war, and his lawyers say that he suffers from post-traumatic stress syndrome from the Sierra Leone War. I guess they're saying this because they really want more damages in his favor, but I just thought that was a very interesting thing, that his unrightful arrest has triggered, like, really bad memories from the war in Sierra Leone. This war has, in a way, served us, many of us, in many different ways around the world. That was reported in the Chronicle Herald, which is a paper in Canada. The other thing that happened this week, which on a cultural tip was really interesting for me, is that Muye Power, which was a Sierra Leonean band recording in the 70s, they basically made dance music, is having its first full album released in the US, and the recordings were made from a tour they did in 1975 and 1976 in California. Muye means our country, and their music was fused electric Congolese and Nigerian music with fast, syncopated, up-tempo, modernized arrangements of traditional music. At the end of this reel, I play for you what I found of their music. It was actually quite cool. Most of the things they sang in Mende language. So they're no longer together. The band broke up in 1979, and up until this week, I had actually never heard of them. But Soundway Record is going to release their album, which is going to be called Muye Power Sierra Leone in the 1970s. If we do find out when it comes out, we'll definitely let you know, because yeah, you can listen to a bit of it on SoundCloud. I'll play it for you. Finally, the last thing making the news in Sierra Leone this week is that 23-year-old Usman Charlie, who ran for YSC at the GT Bank Marathon, came first place. It was a 21-kilometer marathon that started from Kisi Grassfield to Family Kingdom in Lumbly, so he won that. And believe it or not, that's everything that made the news in Sierra Leone this week. If you have any questions or comments, please don't forget to write them down below, underneath here. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you'll get an update the next time we upload a video. And the links for all of these stories and articles can be found on sweetsalon.com. If you have anything, any news items, anything you want to say to me, please email me at info@vickieremoe.com. Thank you. Good night. This was your top 5 things making the news in Sierra Leone, brought to you by Sweet Salon.